Fasten your seatbelts for the realest Eagles and Sixers YouTuber! One who plays no clickbait and gets to the point! The myth, the legend, Nicky Steves! Come to my channel, you know the deal. Yo, boy, always keeps things real. I'm simply statue think they slate, dropping unrealistic mags, 2K takes for the clip. Even though cats like that get views closer to the milli, never hear me preach, look on to Philly. Before you watch the Eagles all the way through the early 22, authentic talk, forget what others do. Come to my channel, you know the deal. Yo, boy, always keeps things real. The 24/7, 365 just to fill the day. Good morning, everybody, NBA fans in particular. This is episode 9. That is right, episode 9 of the 3-Point Blitz. That's right, folks. And Miss mainly going to be you're going to see the trend going forward over these next couple months until we get to around August, mainly NFL preseason time, is these 3-Point Blitz episodes are going to be NBA focused, especially now with the NBA playoffs. Then the NBA Finals in June. Then when you get past that, you're going into the summer. We're going to have the NBA free agency, especially in July. So until about August-ish, it's mostly going to be NBA-related streams. Then around like August, you're going to start getting some more NFL content on the 3-Point Blitz. So that's what the future is going to look like. However, though, we do have one NFL-related subject to start off with before we dive into the NBA playoffs. That's going to be the rant of the week. This week, my rant of the week, as we always start off the 3-Point Blitz with, it's going to be about how Justin Tucker and the NFL's handling of off-the-field issues. Now, Justin Tucker was released by the Ravens last week. Now, we know there was an article that if you wanted to be sick and make a joke about it, you'd call him Deshaun Tucker or Justin Watson, pointing out that there was inappropriate behavior with Justin Tucker and massage parlays, similar to Deshaun Watson. Now, the difference being is at the time, Deshaun Watson was still considered a valuable franchise quarterback. At the time these allegations broke, he got a big contract with the Browns. Justin Tucker, he had a down year in 2024. The allegations broke. At the time, he was on the downside. Now, with some of these allegations itself, if anyone watching that doesn't know, real quickly, there were numerous massage parlors that accused him of inappropriate behavior, similar to Watson. Tucker even got banned from a few spas because of it. So as a result, there was that. Now he's getting cut by the Ravens after a down season. But I noticed a trend with the NFL. Usually with off-the-field conduct, if you're a star player and you're producing, you ultimately get a pass. And we see many examples of this. You see Antonio Brown, see Greg Hardy. We know about his off-the-field issues. While he was still producing at a star level, he was getting passes. It wasn't until his disastrous failed stint with the Cowboys that the NFL's like, nah, we can't do with him anymore. Randy Moss, as much as a lot of people may love Randy Moss, he had his off-the-field issues, especially as a young man. Now, maybe recent years he's matured a little bit, but remember early on he has off-the-field issues. But because Randy Moss was such an elite wide receiver, he got a pass for it a lot of times. And you see the trend. You notice with Ray Rice, I feel like the reason he got cut, looking back on it, not because the video itself was disturbing, which it was, but because ultimately a lot of teams felt he was a replaceable back. Ray Rice seemed like the type of running back. Okay, he's not the greatest running back in the world. You can always find another running back with his skill set. That's why the NFL pretty much blackballed him after the video. Even though, granted, he made his own bed and he deserved it, the NFL standard, then this is where I get into the rant. The NFL standard has never been about zero tolerance. It's always been about what you can do for an organization on the field. It's not just the NFL, it's all sports organizations. Like, look at the Grizzlies with John Morant. Once he got done with the suspension, they welcomed him back with open arms because of what he can do on the court. You believe if John Morant was a role player, that the Grizzlies would have welcomed him back with open arms? No. They'd have moved on from him. But the point being is, in professional sport, now some of these guys who did horrible things that got cut, ultimately they did deserve it. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong, Ray Rice deserved to be cut for the Ravens. He deserved it. He made his own bed he can lie in it. Notice Kareem Hunt, because he still was producing. Remember he had that incident? It went viral late in his second season, but at the time he was considered a potential future star back. So he got a second chance because of it. So ultimately, in Kareem Hunt's case, because of his potential upside from his first 2 years, he got a second chance with the Browns. So it's ultimately based on what you can do in your sport. The reason Justin Tucker's getting cut, make no mistake about it, is not because of what he did off the field. Now, granted, so far it's all allegations. However, if there's evidence that points to you've been banned from several places, yeah, that's a suggestion you're doing something wrong. And if you have multiple people coming out in large numbers, that's where there's smoke, there's fire situation, suggesting if you got multiple women accusing you of inappropriate behavior, you're doing something wrong. But with that being said, the reason Justin Tucker was cut wasn't because of what he's doing off the field. It's because he had a down year on the field, and they feel he's replaceable. So don't give me this whole stance of, oh, zero tolerance. We're going to make a strong message. This isn't allowed. And let's face it, you heard the rumors about Henry Ruggs possibly getting out of prison and possibly getting a second chance in the NFL. Now, we don't know if that's true or not. However, I bet you if Henry Ruggs were to get released, teams would consider giving him a second chance based on his potential. Let's be honest, though. Even Michael Vick, as an Eagles fan, as much as I had fun watching Michael Vick's comeback with the Eagles, let's be honest. The reason he got the second chance is because of what he did the first go around with the Falcons. If he were a Tavares Jackson got involved in dogfighting, he wouldn't have gotten a second chance upon getting released from prison. Matter of fact, that Tavares Jackson probably would have got a longer sentence because he was basically a nobody in the football world. And I don't mean that as disrespect to the late Tavares Jackson. I'm pointing out, though, how the standard really is. Across sports, it's all about what you can do. See the NBA even. Jason Kidd. We know drunk driver, issues with women, particularly domestic violence, but he kept getting chances because of his abilities on the court. Allen Iverson, as much as I love him as a Sixers fan. And I think you guys get the point by now. So that's really my rant. Stop with this whole stance of we're taking a stance against off the field, off the court, misconduct. No, you're going based off who can deliver for you. As soon as you can't deliver for them, they cut you to try to make themselves look good. That's the point of the rant. I mean, I've just named numerous examples recently, historically, that back up my point. So with that being said, let's move along and let's switch gears now. Talk more about the NBA playoffs. We're going to start off with the backlash, or not the backlash, the synopsis from the most recent game. The Indiana Pacers defeat the 1 seed Cleveland Cavaliers to take a 3-1 lead. And yesterday was the most embarrassing game for the Cavs on the road. And embarrassing would be one word to put it for the Cavs. They come in as the number 1 seed, and there were questions on whether or not they would truly pan out in the playoffs. Now, the opening round, they bounced the Miami Heat easily. Fair enough. The number 1 seed bounces the 8 seed, which is what they should do in that situation. And you got Arku in the hello, Arku. I only watched the half of that game. Right, and then you get forward to the Pacers series. Game 2, the Cavs blow. They get a big lead, but let Pacers come back and win. Pacers go up 2-1. Cavs win game 3, but then game 4, as Arku pointed out, he only watched half of the game because the Pacers absolutely dominated and eviscerated the Cavs. And you knew it was over from halftime. You knew the game was over. You ultimately knew, yeah, Pacers are up 3-1. And that's not even the worst part for the Cavs. Not only did you get blown out and you're down 3-1, now you have Donovan Mitchell has an X-ray today as he left the game early in the second half. See if he's going to be able to play or not. And Darius Garland's out as well. So how do you think you're going to win a game? Now, if it turns out Donovan Mitchell's X-ray shut him down for game 5, and then Darius Garland both out for game 5, what? I don't see what chance the Cavs have in that game. I don't. And it's pretty, to me, it's only a matter of time now before the Pacers win this series. And this is validating all the claims that the Cavs were frauds. And the crazy part is yesterday, not only did the Cavs lose in embarrassing fashion, they actually shut down Tyrese Halliburton, who's been kind of on a prove-it run in the playoffs. Because outside of yesterday, that embarrassing 4-point individual performance from Halliburton, he's been pretty much on a tear come playoff time. So the Cavs actually shut him down, but they let everybody else, Miles Turner and company, ball out on them. And they got blown out. So what's the point of shutting down the star player if you can't shut down everyone else? There is no point because you're still going to get blown out and lose. And now there's even more questions on whether or not Kenny Atkinson should have been coach of the year. Because some people are leaning for Oka for what he did with the Rockets. And even though they did get bounced in the opening round, he took a young core that hasn't been to the playoffs in a long time and got them there. Hell, even a case could be made for the Pistons coach. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Someone can put it in the chat if you want to. But you could have made a case for him. He took a roster that was abysmal with Monty Williams last year and turned them into a playoff team. I would consider them more coach of the year qualified. But that's neither here nor there at the moment. It's more about the game itself. Most particularly game 4, I got the stat score box up. You had Siakam had 21, Miles Turner 20. Halliburton only had only had 11, but still. They kind of shut down Halliburton, but let everyone else go off, even letting Obi Toppin dominate with 20 points off the bench. Hell, even TJ McConnell off the bench had 13. So there were numerous players that outscored individual Halliburton. So the point is the Cavs, they were just lost cause out there, especially with their 2 star players being injured. I don't see how they're going to overcome this. And granted, injuries do play a factor in it, but when you're down 2-1, you can still blame yourselves for that as well, because if you're the Cavs and you win that game 2, then you would have gone into that game up 2-1. It could be a different story. But so that's still partially the Cavs' fault, though, too. But, man, the Cleveland Cavaliers, I think they're pretty much done. They likely going to have to go back to the drawing board, figure out what they got to do to get better next year. And for the Pacers, man, this is the second straight year they put together a nice run in the playoffs. Last year, they did defeat Knicks in the second round, but there's the asterisk of they beat an injured Knicks team. But they still won and made it to the conference finals. And now this year, they steamroll the Bucks easier than they did last year. And now they're beating the number 1 seed Cavs. They're up 3-1. There's a possibility it's going to be either Pacers Celtics rematch from last year's conference finals, or Pacers Knicks, which would kind of be a throwback to the 90s. Which I know some old school 90s fans that have some nostalgia would love that, but we're going to still have to wait and see what happens. I think, man, the Pacers, they have a nice solid team. And the thing is, they have depth on their roster. You got Miles Turner, Halliburton, Siakam, Obi Toppin, TJ McConnell. You got decent guys on the roster that can actually play a little bit. And you got depth off your bench. That's always one of the big keys in the NBA to winning come playoff time. And the Pacers have themselves a solid team. I don't think they're quite, to me, either Halliburton, Turner, those guys got to take that next step to be elite for the Pacers to be contender, to be championship team. I don't quite see the Pacers as a championship team, but they are a good team in the East. Weak conference or not, you got to give the Pacers credit. But now, I don't wonder if Mitchell and Garland are done for the series, man. It's definitely over at that point. But hey, we're switching gears now. We kind of talked about it just moments ago. Now let's get back to it. The Knicks hold a 2-1 series over the Celtics, and the Celtics lose games 1 and 2. They gave up big leads both times. There's a good possibility that Boston could have easily been up 3-0 in this series, but they ultimately shot themselves in the foot games 1 and 2. Game 1, they were up by 20. Knicks came back, roared back into it, and then won in overtime. And then game 2, Boston was up again with a convincing lead. You thought, okay, maybe this time it's series evened up. But they let the Knicks come back again. Knicks won 91-90. And in both games, both two games, Boston struggled from 3. And in this case, Boston respond. Yeah. And you got Art Coots. I mean, yeah, Celtics had to respond, which they did in game 3. They responded in game 3 in convincing fashion. They took out all their frustrations from the games 1 and 2 loss, took the life out of Madison Square Garden, did not let their foot off the gas pedal. Now, that could suggest either one of two things. Either Boston got a big lucky win, or that they're finally waking up and realize they learned from their mistakes in games 1 and 2. Now, if Boston can come back and win game 4 in convincing fashion, then I'm sold that Boston's going to win the series. I'm sold that Boston's going to win the series in possibly 6 games. If they come back and win tonight dominating fashion, hey, I'll say this. Hey, Boston's going to probably win this series if they can do some convincing fashion. But we still got to wait and see. Because so far, when Boston doesn't shoot themselves in the foot, they are the better team. All around, they're still the better team despite the Knicks having a 2-1 lead. They've dominated most of the combined court time in the 3 games. The big problem is they take their foot off the gas pedal when they have the big leads, which they did in the first 2 games. Hence why the Knicks are up 2-1. But I think it ultimately depends really this series on how Boston closes. That's really what it's about. Do they get sloppy and try to shoot a whole bunch? They get sloppy offensively by shooting a bunch of missed threes and missing their shots, thus allowing the Knicks to take control on offense, go on runs, and win the game. That's kind of what happened in game 2. They got sloppy. They missed a bunch of threes, and the Knicks started to go on a run. They started scoring their buckets, and before you know it, tied game. And then you saw game 3, though, Boston didn't do that. But it ultimately is going to come down to in this series, do the Celtics play well offensively? Do they take their foot off the gas pedal? Because that's what the series has ultimately come down to. That's how all 3 games have been decided. So I think that's going to be the big factor. Now, on the Knicks side, to be fair, Jalen Brunson has done his thing all playoffs long. He's done his best. And the Knicks, they still as a team deserve credit for coming back in games 1 and 2. Because ultimately when their backs were against the wall, they responded convincingly and were able to win those games. So we're still going to have to wait and see what happens going forward. Does Boston take their momentum from the last game, keep doing what they were doing, take control of the series? We're going to ultimately have to wait and see. Now, switching gears now, we're going to go on, talk about the Western Conference. We're going to start with the Nuggets and Thunder series, which is a good series tied at 2 games apiece. If you guys listening can hear anything in the background, that's the recycling trucks. They're around, so you might hear them a little louder as they come by. But with that being said, though, let's get back to it, though. But the Nuggets and Thunder are having a good series out west, 2-2. Last night, the Oklahoma City Thunder ultimately tied the series Now, it wasn't a great offensive game yesterday. You had some, it was kind of a mix of inaccurate shooting on offense, but you did have some decent defense thrown in the game. Wild part is Jokic had the most steals out of all the starters for the Nuggets yesterday. He had 3 steals yesterday, was it? And then, and you had also on the offensive side, David, hello, good morning, good morning. And you had the Nuggets ultimate. Right, so you had some decent defense from both teams yesterday. The high scorer was for the Thunder, SGA with only 24. This kind of felt more like an old school NBA playoff game where you didn't have it wasn't really a high scoring affair. You had both teams did their thing. You had some decent defense. I mean, it depends. Like, to me, I would say that I did a YouTube short. I put it this way: if you're a fan of high scoring, all offensive games, Game 4 probably wasn't your game, but if you're a fan of competitive games, you probably enjoyed Game 4. But this series so far, though, it's been a pretty competitive. It's been a good series outside of Game 2, where the Thunder absolutely shellacked the Nuggets. It's been a competitive series thus far. And when you think about it, it makes perfect sense. You do have Aaron Gordon, who's been on a good run in the playoffs. Jamal Murray, Christian Vaughn have been solid. I mean, Michael Porter Jr., we're still waiting for him to get back to 2023 form to help the Nuggets win out like they did in 23. So we're still waiting ultimately on that Michael Porter Jr. to show up for the Nuggets. And for the OKC Thunder, you have guys like SGA, guys like Jalen Williams is a solid defensive presence. Had 3 steals yesterday himself. Alex Caruso off the bench has been solid. And throughout the series, that's what made it. It's been a competitive series each game. You had, remember, Game 1, Aaron Gordon was decided by a game winner. Game 2 was a blowout. But then Games 3 and 4 were competitive. And there you got the news. Yep, it's confirmed. Eagles will open the regular season at home against the Dallas Cowboys. The Super Bowl banner will be lifted. Cowboys will have to watch it. And the players will have to see it in person. That'll be fun. Looking forward to that. Man, we still got some ways to go, though. But I'm telling you, out of all these series so far, the Nuggets and Thunder has been the best series. And I'm thinking the way it's been going so far, this is probably going to be another 7-game series. Just like the Nuggets opening series against the Clippers. I'm thinking, really telling you, this could easily be a 7-game series. And I easily see the winner of that series playing the Minnesota Timberwolves in the conference finals. Because when you look at that series right there, the T-Wolves have the 2-1 edge, but the Warriors are without Steph Curry. You see the difference. Game 1, Steph Curry was out there, and the Warriors found a way to win. Even though Steph wasn't the best player on the court that game, him and Jimmy combined were able to win it out. But then the Warriors, having to rely heavily on Jimmy Butler, hasn't worked out as well against that Minnesota Timberwolves team. And not to mention, while we're still on the subject of the T-Wolves, shout out to Julius Randle, because he's been known throughout his career for being an inconsistent player in the playoffs. Now, Julius Randle's going out there, having himself a pretty damn good playoff run. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. And I'm going to share with you guys right now what Julius Randle playoffs extent. And let's take a look. So far, the conference finals, you look at it. Game 1, even his points offensively, 16, 27, 22, 25, 23 from Randle offensively. And you still have, 4 assists, 3 assists, 4, 6, 5. And then you look at this series right here. Game 1, he only had 18 loss, but games 2 and 3, he had double-digit points. And then he had 10 boards in the most recent Game 3 win and 12 assists. And Julius Randle, to his credit, stepped up come this series. We're usually used to Julius Randle being MIA, but to his credit, I'll get back to that subject in a second. Thunder had to close it out. They learned their lesson, referring to Game 4. But now, yep. And as far as Bears, we still gotta wait and see if they keep that going games 5 and 6, and even if had needed a game 7. But they did their job in Game 4. We still gotta wait and see how they follow it up. And as far as the T-Wolves and Warriors goes, said Julius Randle, to his credit, has been having himself a pretty good playoff run. It's like maybe it's just that thing where Julius Randle finally found the right fit. Maybe being in that system with Anthony Edwards is the right fit for a Julius Randle. Maybe he does better there. And clearly, based off the way he's played so far for the playoffs, this is his best playoff run to date. So, I mean, yeah, it's safe to say that Julius Randle finally found that right fit. And that's also played a role in the T-Wolves' success in this playoff run. So I got to give them credit. We know Anthony Edwards, he's got that dog mentality in him to go out there and dominate. But now you got Julius Randle succeeding come playoff time. And that's something he hasn't always been known for, but it's happening here. But crowd out to Julius Randle. And I think with the Warriors not having Steph there is hurting them a bit. And I clearly see the T-Wolves having their number and moving on to the conference finals. I thought a healthy Steph and a healthy Jimmy could have a chance. And we saw games 1, both those guys were in. They did win that game in a close one. But then now games 2 and 3, you see the difference without Steph Curry being there to help out. And it's T-Wolves. But I think the T-Wolves close this series out, move on to the conference finals. Nuggets and Thunder, like I said, that's going to be either game 6 or game 7. I feel like maybe game 7, if it go to a 7th game, maybe the Thunder win out in game 7 and they close out the series. But either way, regardless who wins, it's going to be a great series either way. We know Arku's pulling for the Thunder because that's his team went out. Now the question is to Arku's, like I said, do they keep that track going? It's going to be interesting to see. The X factors for those series to me. X factor for the Nuggets, Aaron Gordon. He's been the X factor for them all playoff run. He was in the series against the Clippers, and he was particularly in that game 1 winner. Now for the Thunder, we know SGA is the superstar of the team. But the X factor to me is going to be Jalen Williams for them. He's the X factor. See what he does. Because he doesn't have to be Jalen Williams in the perfect spot where he doesn't have a lot of pressure on him. All he has to do is put up solid numbers, and he can at least be a difference maker. All he's got to do, hey, Jalen Williams got 3 steals yesterday, which helped. Even if he can just get you double-digit points, even if it's just in the low double digits, like 12, 13, maybe get you 1 or 2 steals, a few boards, that can help out the Thunder in these close games. I got Jalen Williams as my X factor on one side, on the other side, on that side. But that's all really we got for you right now. And FYI, later tonight, we got the NBA Draft Lottery. Mitch is going live around 6:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I may join him. If I do join him, I'll let you guys know via Twitter. And then we'll go from there. And I'm just checking Twitter. Mitch says it's all set. So with that being said, for those that don't follow me on Twitter, I'm going to put the link to my Twitter right in the chat. That's where you guys can hit me up over there. And you guys, if you aren't subscribed to my YouTube channel, so want to make sure you're subbed to that as well. The Nikki Stees channel, so make sure to hit me up there on Twitter and on YouTube with the Nikki Stees channel. So yeah, so later tonight, I'll be live 6:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Mitch. We're going to do reactions to the NBA Draft Lottery. So that's also, you got the NBA Draft Lottery tonight, as well as the Knicks versus Celtics and Warriors T-Wolves games 4. Those are going to be live later tonight for the NBA. So that's what we got coming for y'all later. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed episode 9 of the 3-Point Blitz. If you haven't done so already, make sure to drop a like, subscribe to whatever platforms you're on. We're doing this on the Nicky Stees and the Hardcore Sports Network channels as always. So make sure to subscribe to both if you haven't done so already. There's the Hardcore Sports Network's channel link if you haven't subbed them up yet. Sir, so with that being said, we got another episode of the 3-Point Blitz down next Monday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is episode 10 of the 3-Point Blitz, the big episode 10 tomorrow. So with that being said, have a great rest of your day. Hope you have a great day at work if you're at work, or if you get the chance to at any point in the day, whether you're at work, whether you're at home, try to enjoy the warm weather. If you have the chance to go on break, try to get an opportunity to go outside for a little bit. If you have the opportunity after work to enjoy the fresh air, make sure to do so. It's a beautiful day outside. With that being said, have a great rest of your day. It's your boy Nicky Stees signing off. Peace.